First contact and discovery. The void between stars had long been humanity's final frontier, but Captain Alina Reyes never expected to find anything quite like this. The UNSS Horizon Seeker drifted silently through the emptiness of the Cygnus Arm, its massive fusion engines powering down as the ship approached what appeared to be an artificial structure of impossible scale. "Status report," Alina demanded, her eyes fixed on the main viewscreen displaying the enigmatic object. Chief Science Officer Dr. Kaido Nakamura's fingers danced across his console. "Definitely artificial, Captain. Structure extends approximately 20 kilometers in length, with multiple concentric rings orbiting a central hub. Material composition, unknown. Not matching anything in our database. Life signs?" Alina asked, leaning forward in her command chair. Lieutenant Asha Kapoor shook her head. "None that our sensors can detect, but there's energy running through that structure. Faint but regular pulses, almost like a heartbeat. The megastructure hum against the backdrop of distant stars, its surface etched with intricate geometric patterns that seem to shift and ripple despite the object's apparent stillness. Bands of faint luminescence traced paths along its curved surface, pulsing with a slow, deliberate rhythm. It's beautiful," Security Chief Marcus Chen whispered, breaking protocol but voicing what everyone felt. Alina nodded. "Prepare an away team. Standard first contact protocols." 2 hours later, Alina led her team through the alien structure's main airlock. The artificial gravity was lighter than Earth standard, giving each step a slight bounce that required conscious adjustment. The air, though breathable according to their scanners, carried a strange metallic tang that their environmental suits couldn't quite filter out. "These markings are extraordinary," Dr. Nakamura whispered, running a gloved hand along wall panels that glowed with faint blue symbols. "They're not static. They're responding to our presence." Before Alina could respond, the corridor had illuminated, panels sliding open to reveal a vast chamber beyond. The team advanced cautiously, weapons at their sides but ready. The chamber stretched upward for hundreds of meters with walkways spiraling around a central column of pulsing light. And there, hovering near the column, was something unmistakably alive. The being was tall and slender with translucent skin that revealed an intricate network of light coursing through its body. It had no visible mouth, but 4 elongated limbs moved with deliberate grace as it approached. "We come in peace," Alina called out, using the universal greeting that had become standard procedure. "We are explorers from Earth." The alien paused, tilting what might have been its head. Then, to everyone's shock, it responded in perfect English. "Earth visitors, we have waited. I am Zephyr, last guardian of the Luminar Archive. You know our language." Dr. Nakamura nearly dropped his scanner. "We have studied your transmissions for centuries," Zephyr replied, its skin rippling with patterns of soft purple and blue light. "Your broadcasts travel far beyond your world. We have watched your civilization grow." Alina stepped forward. "We detected your station by chance. Are you alone here?" The alien's lights dimmed slightly. "I am the last conscious Luminar. The others sleep in suspended animation below. Our systems fail. Soon, the final remnants of our species will be lost forever." Over the next hours, Zephyr explained their situation. The Luminars were an ancient species who had achieved technological marvels billions of years before humanity had even evolved. Their civilization had spanned thousands of worlds, but a cosmic catastrophe, a chain of supernovas that Zephyr called the Shattering, had decimated their homeworlds and scattered their surviving population. This station, the Luminar Archive, was one of the last refuges, maintaining 10,000 Luminars in suspended animation. But after eons of operation, the power cords were failing. The sophisticated AI systems that had maintained the station were degrading, and Zephyr, as the designated guardian, had remained conscious too long, unable to enter stasis again. "Our knowledge of the original systems has fragmented over millennia," Zephyr explained, leading them deeper into the station, where row upon row of crystalline pods stretched into the distance, each containing a motionless luminar form. Our bodies evolved to depend on the station's specialized energy field. Without it, we cannot survive. You're asking for our help, Alina said, studying the closest pod, seeing the faint pulse of light within. Your species is young. Zephyr's inner lights flickered. Your technology is primitive compared to what we once wielded. But humans possess something we luminars have lost: adaptability. You find solutions where others see only impossibility. You're asking for our help, Alina said, studying the closest pod, seeing the faint pulse of light within. Your species is young. Zephyr's inner lights flickered. Your technology is primitive compared to what we once wielded. But humans possess something we luminars have lost: adaptability. You find solutions where others see only impossibility. Lieutenant Kapoor spoke up, her voice cautious. Captain, Earth's resources are already stretched thin with the colony expansions. If we commit to helping, we do not seek charity, Zephyr interjected. We offer knowledge in exchange. Star charts of regions you have not yet explored. Historical records of civilizations long extinct. Technologies we still understand. Medical advances. Energy efficiencies beyond your current capabilities. Alina considered this. Her mission had been exploration, not rescue. But standing before these ancient beings facing extinction after surviving for billions of years, she couldn't simply walk away. I need to consult with Earth Command, she finally said. The response from Earth was predictably divided. Some officials saw tremendous opportunity in gaining access to luminar knowledge. Others feared depletion of resources or potential security risks. After 3 days of tense negotiations, authorization came through. The Horizon Seeker would attempt to restore the Luminar Archive's failing systems. We'll need to understand the power generation systems first, Chief Engineer Sanjay Patel said during the briefing. Their technology might be advanced, but physics is universal. Energy can't be created or destroyed, only transformed. For the next month, the Horizon Seeker became a hub of frantic activity. Engineers and scientists worked alongside Zephyr, studying the ancient systems of the Luminar Archive. They discovered that the station had been designed to harvest energy from the microscopic quantum fluctuations in spacetime itself, a technology far beyond current human understanding. It's like trying to repair a quantum computer with stone tools, Dr. Nakamura complained after another 16-hour shift. But humans had always been resourceful. When they couldn't understand the original systems, they designed workarounds. When materials didn't exist in their inventory, they improvised alternatives. When solutions seemed impossible, they refused to accept defeat. The primary stabilizers are failing, Zephyr announced one day, its normally smooth movements becoming erratic. Without them, the stasis pods will begin terminal shutdown within hours. Captain Alina gathered her senior staff immediately. Options. We could reroute power from the Horizon Seeker, Sanjay suggested, but it wouldn't be enough for more than temporary support. What about the shuttle reactors? Marcus offered. If we reconfigure them. Still not enough. Sanjay shook his head. Alina paced the room, then stopped suddenly. What about the asteroid belt we passed through? The one with the high concentration of rare elements. Dr. Nakamura's eyes widened. The thorium deposits. Yes, that could work. If we could harvest Inno. We'd need to process it, Sanjay cautioned. Then we better work fast, Alina said, already moving toward the door. Prepare the mining drones. We've got a civilization to save. As the Horizon Seeker's mining drones raced toward the asteroid belt, the crew worked to construct makeshift reactors capable of powering the most critical systems of the Luminar Archive. It was a desperate gamble, but as humanity had learned throughout its history, sometimes desperate gambles were the only ones worth taking. The Awakening and Alliance. The improvised thorium reactors hummed with energy, their blue glow casting strange shadows through the vast chambers of the Luminar Archive. It had been 3 months since the UNSS Horizon Seeker had discovered the ancient alien structure, and Captain Alina Reyes watched as her engineers made final adjustments to the power distribution system. "Status report," she called out, unable to keep the exhaustion from her voice. None of them had slept properly in days. Chief Engineer Sanjay Patel looked up from his work, dark circles under his eyes, but a triumphant smile on his face. "Power levels stabilizing, Captain. We're at 68% of optimal, but it should be enough to maintain critical systems and begin revival procedures." Zephyr, the last conscious guardian of the Luminars, hovered nearby. The alien's translucent body pulsed with brighter patterns than Alina had seen in weeks. "Your people have accomplished what I believed impossible," the alien said, its voice resonating directly in their minds. "The awakening protocol can now commence." Dr. Nakamura approached, tablet in hand. "We've identified the first group for revival, the station's maintenance specialists. If we can get them conscious, they might help us understand the original systems better." Elena nodded. "Proceed." The revival of the first Luminars was both beautiful and unsettling to human eyes. As power flowed into the ancient stasis pods, the crystalline structures became transparent, revealing the beings within. Unlike Zephyr, who had been awake for millennia, these Luminars appeared more vibrant, their internal light networks pulsing with complex patterns of color. "They are remembering," Zephyr explained as the humans watched in wonder. "During stasis, consciousness fragments. The awakening process requires reintegration of self." The first Luminar to fully awaken was named Stylo, identified by Zephyr as the Archive's chief systems architect. Where Zephyr's movements had become slow and deliberate over eons of solitary vigilance, Philo moved with fluid grace, its body constantly shifting in subtle ways as if physical form was merely a suggestion rather than a requirement. "The humans have saved us," Zephyr communicated to Philo, in a silent exchange of light patterns that the humans couldn't understand. Philo approached Alina, studying her with obvious curiosity. "Your species was barely reaching for the stars when I entered stasis," the alien communicated directly into her mind. "Now you stand before me as saviors." The universe has a peculiar sense of irony. Over the next weeks, more Luminars were awakened, specialists in various fields who could help restore the Archive's systems properly. With each revival, the humans learned more about this ancient civilization. The Luminars had once been a species of scientists and artists, explorers and philosophers. Their technology had been built not to conquer but to understand, not to destroy but to preserve. "Your approach to problem-solving fascinates us," Kylo told Dr. Nakamura as they worked together to restore the Archive's knowledge banks. "Luminars seek perfect solutions through perfect understanding. Humans, you create imperfect solutions that somehow work better than they should. We call it hacking," Nakamura replied with a smile. As more Luminars awakened, cultural exchange flourished. The aliens shared their vast knowledge, medical techniques that could cure diseases humans had long struggled with, efficient energy systems that could revolutionize Earth's power grid, star charts of regions humans hadn't yet explored. In return, humans shared their art, their music, their literature, and most importantly, their adaptability. Where Luminar thinking had become rigid over millions of years of technological stability, human creativity offered new perspectives. "Your species contains multitudes," Zephyr observed to Elena one day. "In a single human lifetime, you experience more change than Luminars witnessed in 1,000 generations. This is both your burden and your gift." But the Alliance faced its first true test when the Archive's long-range sensors detected an approaching anomaly, a massive gravitational wave that threatened to tear the station apart. "It's a space-time distortion," Dr. Nakamura explained during the emergency briefing. "Similar to the phenomenon the Luminars call the shattering. If it hits with full force, both the Archive and the Horizon Seeker will be destroyed." "Can we move the station?" Elena asked. Silo's lights pulsed with concern. The propulsion systems were damaged beyond repair millennia ago. The archive was meant to remain in this stable region of space, which appears to be stable no longer. What about the Horizon Seeker? Lieutenant Kapoor suggested. Could we evacuate some of the luminars? Zephyr dimmed noticeably. Our bodies cannot survive long outside the archive's specialized environment. And there are still thousands in stasis. We would be saving merely dozens while condemning thousands. The room fell silent until Marcus Chen, who had been quietly studying the sensor data, spoke up. What if we don't move the station or ourselves? What if we move the wave? All eyes, human and alien, turned to him. Gravitational waves interact with mass, he continued, more confident now. If we positioned enough mass at the right coordinates, we could potentially deflect the wave just enough to spare the station. The asteroid field, Alina realized immediately. The one we harvested thorium from. Precisely, Marcus nodded. If we use the Horizon Seeker to position key asteroids in a specific pattern, creating a gravitational lens, Silo finished, lights brightening with excitement. Yes, this could work. But the calculations would need to be precise beyond your current computing capabilities. Then we'll use yours, Alina said decisively. What followed was the most ambitious collaborative effort between humans and luminars yet. While the Horizon Seeker deployed to the asteroid field with luminar navigation specialists aboard, the archive's ancient quantum computers calculated the exact positions needed for each massive space rock. The work was grueling and precise. The ship's engines strained to move asteroids weighing millions of tons. The crew worked in shifts that stretched the limits of human endurance. Several times, miscalculations nearly resulted in disaster. We've positioned the final asteroid, Sanjay reported, his voice crackling over the comm as the gravitational wave approached. But our models show it's still not enough. The deflection will be partial at best. In the archive's control center, Alina and Zephyr watched the approaching distortion on the main display. We need more mass, Alina said, the implications clear in her voice. Or a different approach entirely. Silo suggested, joining them. There is one possibility. The archive contains a prototype device from before the shattering. It was designed to stabilize space-time fluctuations around our faster-than-light drives. Will it work against something this large? Dr. Nakamura asked. Unknown, Silo admitted, and activating it will require redirecting all power from the stasis chambers. Those not yet awakened may be lost. The choice was impossible. Risk thousands of luminars still in stasis, or lose everyone, both humans and the awakened aliens. Alina closed her eyes briefly, then straightened her shoulders. There must be another way. If we combine both approaches. Yes, Dr. Nakamura interrupted, sudden inspiration lighting his face. If we position the device at the focal point of our gravitational lens, its effect would be magnified exponentially. The next hours were a blur of activity. As the Horizon Seeker positioned the prototype device at the precisely calculated coordinates, the archive diverted partial power from non-critical systems. It would be enough to keep the stasis chambers functioning at minimal levels, but only for a short time. Wave approaching in 10 minutes, Lieutenant Kapoor announced, her voice tense. On the view screen, they could see the distortion now, not visually, but as a representation of the gravitational sensors. Space itself seemed to fold and ripple as the massive wave approached. Device activation in 3, 2, 1. Sanjay counted down from his position aboard the Horizon Seeker. A burst of energy, unlike anything the humans had ever witnessed, erupted from the prototype, expanding outward to interact with the gravitational lens created by the positioned asteroids. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly but perceptibly, the approaching wave began to split, its destructive force dividing and flowing around the space occupied by the archive and the ship. It's working, someone shouted. The station shuddered as the edges of the wave brushed against it, but the combined human luminar technology held. When the distortion finally passed, leaving them in calm space once more, a cheer erupted from both species. In the aftermath, As systems were restored, and the remaining luminars continued their awakening, Alina found herself standing with Zephyr and Silo in the Archive's central chamber, gazing out at the stars. "Our civilizations are now bound together," Zephyr said softly. "Not by necessity alone, but by choice. The universe is vast and often hostile," Silo added. "But together, we face it with both ancient wisdom and fresh perspective." Alina nodded, thinking of the message she would soon send back to Earth, not just about the technological marvels they had discovered, but about the profound truth they had learned. In the vastness of space, different species might evolve along entirely separate paths, but when they joined together, combining their unique strengths, they could accomplish the impossible. "To new beginnings," she said simply. Around them, the lights of the ancient archive pulsed in harmony with the distant glow of the Horizon Seeker's engines. Two civilizations, separated by billions of years of evolution, now united in purpose and hope for the future that stretched endlessly before them.